The Tree Tea channel built its reputation around an impressively trained parkour dog out of Ukraine, but a video uploaded in 2016 broke completely from that formula. While making his way through a thick, overgrown forest, the creator came across a rotting wooden structure, almost entirely consumed by vegetation. Moving closer to the wreckage, he noticed a jet black opening beneath the broken floorboards and quickly realized something was down there.
В жуткое место. Такие руины. И вот, неспокойно, как бы вот еще солнце не зашло, а как-то мрачно, очень мрачно. Еще и в колодце что-то шипит. Может, ужик.
Stare long enough into that hollow darkness, and two bright, reflective eyes come into focus, locked dead on the camera. Around them, the vague outline of something large and beast-like barely takes shape, shifting ever so slightly without producing a single sound. Whatever it is never steps out from beneath the debris, keeping itself cloaked entirely in shadow. Given the nature of the channel, some kind of wild animal might seem like a reasonable explanation for that eyeshine, but its almost unnatural motionlessness and strange refusal to come forward left a lot of people seriously on edge. So was this tradie coming face to face with a frightened animal sheltering in the ruins, or something far darker hiding just beyond the reach of the light? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Most paranormal videos tend to unfold inside someone's home. There's something about that domestic setting that amplifies even the smallest disturbance. But the truth is, any location can become unsettling when something impossible takes place within it. That brings us to our next clip, where a group of students in the Philippines recorded something inside what appeared to be a completely vacant restroom, except, as it turns out, it wasn't vacant at all. See for yourself. The sound of a child weeping drifts out from somewhere within that restroom. Yet there's no child anywhere in sight. All the camera reveals are empty stalls, the very same stalls where, just seconds earlier, one of the doors had swung open with no one behind it. And even setting that detail aside, the crying on its own is deeply unsettling. It's the kind of thing that would send most people sprinting in the opposite direction. Details surrounding this footage are scarce, but what was recorded here represents just one of several strange incidents tied to this location. The school has a long-standing reputation for being haunted, so the question remains, was this a ghost caught on camera, or is there something else entirely going on? A woman was enjoying some VR games alongside her husband, and during a 15-minute rest period, she decided to jump into a title called First Encounters. Having just finished a round of mini golf, she repositioned herself at the center of the room, performed a boundary reset, and ran through a full space setup, rescanning the area to make sure nothing was in the way. But the moment she got back into the game, what appeared on screen stopped her cold. A bizarre three-dimensional figure materialized within the room's space, draped in what appeared to be a hooded cloak. Her husband was over in the kitchen at the time, and whatever this thing was, it stood noticeably taller than anyone present. On top of that, nothing like this had ever shown up before, which rules out any kind of spacing glitch. She sets everything up the exact same way each session. So shaken by what she witnessed, she shut the game down on the spot and stepped away entirely, Given that the whole system had been configured correctly, viewers were left with only one conclusion, that what she encountered was a "gee, this one comes out of Brazil," and once you see it, it's nearly impossible to stop watching. A woman is lying flat in the middle of the road, her body contorting in ways that defy anything natural, writhing and twisting as though she'd surrendered all control, and something else entirely had taken the wheel. The traffic officer who stumbled upon her visibly froze, clearly unsettled by what he was seeing, and he had to radio for backup before he could bring himself to approach. A handful of drivers pulled over and joined him, and together they managed to haul her off the road and into the back seat of a nearby vehicle, while everyone waited for law enforcement to arrive. But what truly got under the skin of everyone standing there had nothing to do with the way her body was moving. It was her expression. She wore this vacant, hollow look, eyes wide open, completely empty, like there was nothing left behind them. And nobody present could shake the gut feeling that whatever they were watching had stopped being fully human. Plenty of people chalked it up to drugs afterward, and that may well be the explanation, but a lot of those who sat through that footage came away with the unsettling conviction that they'd witnessed something far harder to explain. A man named Brandon was brought on to help renovate a very old house, but he ended up walking away from the job after a series of unsettling events unfolded around him. As he tells it, his only task was to complete some unfinished electrical wiring work that had been left incomplete after the previous electrician flat out refused to return to the property. Upon arriving, Brandon heads inside and starts filming, wanting to document everything that still needed to be done. Moving through the rooms one by one, he decides to make his way down to the basement to show what things look like down there, and what he encounters is enough to make your blood run cold.
Jeez Louise. So this also is all open up for us right here. They have some bad wiring that we had to take care of that can't be exposed like that. Let's head downstairs. Okay, there is a lot of water. Should tell the customer about that. Some exposed wire here too. Okay, so let's go take a look at the panel over here. Looks pretty good. Newer panel. Okay. And it got. What the f was that? Dude. Hello? Hello?
While he's down there inspecting the breaker panel, he's suddenly jolted by 3 loud bangs coming from the floor above him, despite being absolutely certain no one else is in the building. Brandon immediately moves toward the exit, but at that very instant, the door swings shut right in his face, blocking his way out. The footage cuts off immediately after that. To this day, it's the only video he has uploaded, which means we have no idea how the situation resolved itself, let alone what was responsible for those bangs, or what caused that door to slam shut. Is this a haunted house? And could that be exactly why the electrician before him dropped everything and never looked back? Or is there some other explanation entirely? I'll let you decide. On May 28th of this year, what began as a standard parasailing trip off the coastline of Southeast Europe quickly descended into an unthinkable tragedy. 19-year-old Serbian model Tijana Ratoni had been hoisted more than 150 feet into the air, hanging between an open sky and the dark expanse of water far below. By all accounts, conditions were ideal, the weather was clear, the gear had been inspected, and the ascent had gone smoothly. Nothing about those early moments hinted at the catastrophe that was about to unfold along that peaceful stretch of coast. According to eyewitness accounts from the ground, the equipment showed no signs of failure, and the operator hadn't made any critical error. What happened next was something far more disturbing. Those watching claimed that Tajana suddenly reached toward the harness, keeping her attached to the parasail, and, in a moment that left onlookers speechless, began releasing the straps one by one while still hanging high above the water. Within seconds, her body pitched forward and flipped upside down, and then gravity did the rest. She dropped toward the sea with nothing to arrest her fall. The entire terrifying sequence was recorded on video, and everyone who has seen it has been left shaken by the sheer helplessness of what plays out on screen. The parasailing company later confirmed that all required safety protocols had been completed before she went up. Tajana had reportedly been given a thorough briefing and appeared calm, showing no signs of anxiety or distress before departure. She had been taking part in a promotional photo shoot that day, and people who knew her described her as genuinely enthusiastic about the whole experience. Those close to her found it nearly impossible to accept that she would deliberately put herself in harm's way. As investigators worked to piece together what happened, attention shifted toward a deeply unsettling psychological phenomenon known as the call of the void, an involuntary impulse that can strike without warning when a person finds themselves at extreme heights or in the presence of danger. It isn't classified as a true desire for self-harm, but rather a strange misfiring in the brain's threat response system. Some researchers suggest that close to half the population may encounter this sensation at some point in their lives. Others have proposed that sudden, overwhelming panic or a brief moment of disorientation at such a dizzying altitude may have compromised her judgment for just a few critical seconds. What truly occurred up there may never be fully known, leaving behind haunting questions that continue to hang in the air long after the water settled beneath the place where Tajana fell. This unsettling footage captures the moment a man gets an unexpected shock when he spots a mysterious figure lurking outside his home in the dead of night. He starts out simply doing his usual sweep of the area around his property, until something catches his eye, a strange shape lingering in the shadows just a short distance away. The silhouette bears an eerie resemblance to a ghostly female form, and the man immediately swings his camera in its direction.
Lu bayangin, Cok, pagi-pagi jam 5 kurang, kuntilanak dari tadi. Pertama dia ketawa, nangis. Nah, ku cari mana? No orangnya no. Kan si kampret. No. Woi, ngapain lo di situ? Kambing, udahlah. Kita juga nggak ganggu. Kau mau pulang-pulang, udah pagi juga, ya. Jangan kayak gitu, ya.
In the footage, a white-clad figure stands perfectly motionless in a dimly lit spot, staring straight toward him. The apparition appears faint and wispy, with long flowing hair that has led countless viewers to draw comparisons to a spirit from beyond. What makes this clip truly memorable, though, is what happens next. Rather than screaming and bolting, the man actually bursts out laughing and calmly tells the figure it ought to head home before sunrise arrives. That remarkably composed response is a big part of why this video spread so rapidly across the internet and sparked so much conversation. On the night of January 11th, 2012, an office building became the setting for something deeply unsettling, and a sea camera recorded every moment of it. Chairs began sliding across the room on their own, but that was only the beginning. One computer monitor started glitching out, and then, almost instantly, every single screen in the room followed something that has no rational explanation. And yet, what the footage shows next is even harder to process. Things then took a far darker turn. One by one, doors across the office began rattling as though trying to unlock themselves. setting off alarms and strobe like warning lights as if something unseen was desperately searching for a way in or a way out. Then, documents lifted off surfaces and were hurled violently through the air, slamming into walls and raining down across the floor all at once, with nobody anywhere in the room. No person, no wind, no reasonable cause. Doors burst wide open as though someone had just walked through them, only to swing shut again seconds later. Whatever that security camera captured on that night went far beyond strange. It was something no logic could account for. Surveillance technology documenting more of our daily lives than at any point in history. It comes as little shock that bizarre and hard to explain incidents are ending up on footage with increasing frequency, particularly given that close to 40% of households now have a doorbell camera installed. And just outside one specific home, one of those devices picked up something deeply disturbing.
Camera recording.
Positioned right in front of the property was what appeared to be a ghostly figure. A pale white shape stood completely motionless, not so much as twitching. Then, the second the doorbell chimed to signal the camera had activated, it disappeared in an instant, almost as if it sensed it was no longer alone. Looks like this eerie little visitor wasn't too fond of the spotlight. Our next unsettling clip comes from a bus driver operating in Santiago, Chile. She's alone in a stationary bus, getting ready to begin her morning shift at 8 o'clock. But right before she pulls away, something on the security camera monitor catches her attention.
Corre el tiempo. Hay un pasajero sentado en el asiento que va solo, al lado de la puerta. Nos movemos. Y no hay nadie. ¿Un pasajero fantasma? ¿Cachan? Sigue ahí sentado. ¿Ven? Y las cámaras no están paradas, siguen moviéndose. ¿Habrá sido alguien que se murió ahí sentado?
The live feed appears to show a young passenger seated at the window directly behind her, yet the moment she turns around to look, the seat is completely vacant. The footage cuts off almost right away, and since it was later shared online without any credited source or name attached, there's very little additional context to work with. Even so, the mystery lingers. Was this nothing more than some kind of technical glitch? Or did the driver catch a fleeting glimpse of someone who simply wasn't there? Two young women are standing outside late at night somewhere in Argentina, filming a building on the side of the road. They had simply been walking home that evening when something they spotted through the building's window stopped them cold. See for yourself what they captured.
Lo grabé justo.
A dark shadow is visible inside, darting back and forth across the room over and over again. What drew the girls in was how unnervingly fast it was, moving far too quick to belong to any person, and it had been repeating the exact same motion for more than 10 minutes. Later that same night, a man in the area notices the very same thing.
Mira, ¿pasos vieron? ¿Ah? Mira, mira, ahí se paró, mira. Ahí está parado,
Mira Ángel.
Ángel,
Se paró ahí, mira.
Ángel, mira, está parado ahí, mira.
¿Lo ves?
Mira ese negro que está ahí se paró, mira. Fica esse homem, mira. Vem tá parado. Isso não era que tá. Deu já Yankee. Vem tá parado, hein? Aí que eu parado, mira. Aí esse homem, mira. Ascar. Viro neros que tá aí. Vai isso aí. Huh? Architecture?
The shadowy figure is once again seen shooting across the space, though this time it seems to pause near the window and turn slightly toward it, almost as if it's aware it's being watched, before resuming its bizarre, erratic movement. Afterward, the man decided to check the building out for himself and found that it had been sitting completely abandoned for quite some time, making what he witnessed that night all the more unsettling. Carla is a woman originally from South America, whose channel used to focus on daily vlogs and product recommendations, nothing remotely connected to the paranormal. That all shifted when she and her family relocated to a new home. She says that upon moving in, she discovered a black bag left just outside the property, stuffed with items that belonged to none of them. To this day, she has no idea who it came from. And right around that time, the house started showing its true colors, poltergeist-style disturbances, unexplained sounds, and something even harder to categorize. Carla says she occasionally falls into a kind of involuntary trance, which is unusual even by the standards of what we tend to cover on this channel. She also describes a dream in which her late best friend appeared and directed her to dig in a particular spot in the yard. When she did, she found a stone. She believes that stone keeps the trance episodes at bay, but only as long as she has it on her person. Then, just a few days ago, at 5 in the morning, she captured this on camera.
There's no one up there, but look, the blanket just moved. Look. It's not the wind, it's not the wind. Zoals vaak morning. This always happens. I know. Where's Omar? Right now. Gedulden me fast. There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And then when I finally pay attention, I look and tell it to manifest or whatever to show itself, it doesn't. I've been dealing with this for a while, a long time. The blanket stopped moving, see? And if I go sleep in the other room is horrible. Anyone who stays there has things appear to them all the time. In this room, things...
Carla is woken up by a noise, and almost immediately there's laughter drifting down from somewhere above her. Pay attention to the top bunk, because the blanket up there is clearly moving, and this is the moment we really need you to focus on. That's not a draft or a gust of wind catching it. We've reviewed enough footage over the years to tell the difference. It gets tugged slightly, holds in place, then lets go, and then it happens again. What makes it unsettling isn't really the movement itself, it's how deliberate it looks. Carla also points to something just behind the pillow that she says she didn't even notice while she was recording. We went ahead and zoomed in on that ourselves, and to be straight with you, we're not convinced there's anything there. That part doesn't read as paranormal to us. The blanket, though, is a different matter entirely, and what Carla does next Takes more nerve than most people would have at 5 in the morning, she actually gets up and goes to check. The top bunk is completely empty. There is no one up there. Carla says most of the strange activity in the house tends to be concentrated in a different room, but in this particular one, she seems to be the only one it targets. In more recent videos, she's mentioned that she's now reaching out to the church for help. On December 21st, 2024, a mother by the name of Anisha uploaded a clip that quickly began disturbing everyone who came across it. The footage originated with her 4-year-old son, who had grown fascinated by the family's elf on the shelf. Determined to catch the toy in action overnight, the boy secretly set up a camera in the room before heading off to sleep. Come morning, he ran straight to review what had been recorded. Things looked completely ordinary at first, but then something showed up in the footage that left him absolutely terrified. So pay close attention, because the reason for his fear isn't necessarily going to jump out at you right away. The toy itself never moved. Instead, a dim, barely visible figure materialized silently within the frame. It looked like a small child standing completely motionless in the dark. No noise, no motion, just a still, shadowy shape gazing into the room. Then, within just a few seconds, it was gone. It didn't walk off. It didn't gradually blend into the background. It simply ceased to be there. What made the whole thing even harder to shake was the total, unbroken silence around that moment. When Anisha sat down and watched the recording for herself, it reportedly left her genuinely disturbed. So what was it that the camera actually picked up that night? And why did it only appear for those few brief moments? At a rural family get-together, everything was going smoothly until one of the relatives came running over in a panic, swearing that someone was lurking inside a parked vehicle. Because the car had remained locked the whole time, nobody took the claim seriously at first. They decided to head over and check it out anyway, and what the camera recorded next left everyone shaken.
Mas quando chega não tem ninguém, ó. Olha aí, ó. Ei, eu tô ficando com medo já. Olha aí, vem cá, Danielzinho. Olha como tem uma pessoa dentro do carro, ó. Olha aí, ó. Ai, eu tô ficando com medo. Tá ali a pessoa ali, mulher. Olha ali, ó. Olha ali, ó, se mexendo. Não, mulher, não, eu vou me embora. Não, mulher, tem uma pessoa aí dentro do carro. Tem uma pessoa. Pois, bora ver. Bora ver. Não, bora ver como tem uma pessoa dentro do carro. Bora ver. Não, mulher, tu tá dizendo que tem porque tem. Fica aqui. Não,
A distinctly human-like face could be seen sitting perfectly still in the back seat, its gaze fixed directly on the person approaching. Summoning the nerve to act, they hit the unlock button and yanked the door open. Everyone braced for an intruder, but the back seat was completely bare. Whatever had been there was simply gone, leaving no trace behind. Some people who watched the footage are convinced it was just a trick of light or a camera artifact, but others are certain that what was captured there has no rational explanation. The footage you're about to watch was shared on the True Cryptozoology subreddit by a user going by the name Hall Negotiation 1843. Ever since it was posted, it has sparked serious debate across the internet. According to the original post, the video was captured by a fisherman somewhere off the coast of Thailand, and whatever he manages to film breaking the surface of the water is anything but a routine sighting. The creature's shape doesn't match anything you could easily put a name to. Its body is elongated and swollen, almost bloated looking, with what appear to be visible ribs protruding along its side, and the head is no less puzzling. Some people online have compared it to that of a seal, yet it's attached to a body that moves in a way that's more reminiscent of a crocodile, an already deeply unsettling pairing. As it glides through the water, You can just about make out what looks like a wide jaw lined with rows of thin, pointed teeth, not exactly something you'd want drawing closer to your vessel. A number of theories have been thrown around. Some believe it could simply be a dead or rotting animal whose form has been warped and distorted by the water around it. Others, however, are convinced this could be an entirely undiscovered species. So what do you think this fisherman actually encountered? He was alone inside the restaurant when something absolutely terrifying unfolded. The footage you're about to see was captured by a man exploring an old restaurant that had sat empty for years. The building is currently undergoing renovations, with plans to reopen it as a brand new establishment. As he made his way through the space with his camera rolling, something utterly horrifying suddenly took place. See for yourself.
Oh, it's cold right here. The other way. Hello? I'm not going up there. Definitely not going back there. Oh wow, it is really cold right here. What was that? Oh. I don't think it's happy we're here. Holy.
At first, a dark, shadowy figure emerged in the corner of the room. It appeared to take the shape of a young boy. The man was shaken, but uncertain enough about what he'd glimpsed that he turned back around to get a closer look. The figure, however, had completely vanished. Then, without warning, it materialized in that same corner once more. That was all it took, overwhelmed with sheer terror. The man bolted straight out of the building. Most people who've seen this footage are convinced that what showed up on camera was a genuine apparition, and that this long abandoned restaurant is very much haunted. A young woman named Aria is staying at a hotel in Virginia, one of those old, creaky places that already has a certain unsettling energy to it. One night, at around 10 p.m., she's heading back to her room when she notices a suspicious-looking man trailing behind her. She pulls out her phone and pretends to be on a video call, hoping that'll be enough to make him back off, but it doesn't seem to do the trick. Aria says she could hear the man's footsteps behind her picking up speed, and convinced he was coming after her, she breaks into a run and starts screaming for help. But here's where things take a genuinely strange turn, because when viewers start slowing the footage down at certain key moments, nobody can actually be seen pursuing her. And that's when a completely separate TikTok account enters the picture. It belongs to a guy named Tony, a maintenance worker at this exact hotel. Tony comes across Aria's video and decides to pull up the hotel's own security cameras to see what they captured. Here's what he found.
Here's video of that girl that posted, and I'm gonna let y'all know now, it gets really weird. It's like she acting like she's running from something or hiding from something. But there's literally nobody else in the frame. Like she tweaking.
Yeah, it is weird.
And the elevator door is not even closing.
The footage shows Aria sprinting down the corridor, and then huddling inside an elevator, but once again, there is no visible person behind her. Oddly, the elevator doors simply refuse to shut, and Arya eventually bolts back out. Tony mentions that the front desk clerk confirmed Arya did make it to the lobby, where she got into an Uber and left without saying a single word to anyone. Naturally, Tony wants to understand what could have spooked her so badly. He tracks down her room number and heads up there with a coworker to take a look. What they discover is genuinely unsettling.
It's like all my stuff is just left here. It's crazy. Yo, this shit is ridiculous. What the heck is this doing in here? Yo, hold on, y'all. Why the f is this in here? Hold this. Yo, y'all.
All of Arya's belongings are still sitting in the room she left everything behind. On top of that, the place looks completely torn apart, with items scattered across the floor. But the most alarming discovery is something Tony identifies as an underdoor tool, a device commonly used by criminals to bypass the latch on a hotel room door from the outside. At this point, Tony is starting to think someone may have actually broken into her room, and that maybe, just maybe, there really was someone chasing her after all. He heads back to the security footage and goes through it much more carefully this time. What he sees stops him cold.
So I went back and was looking at the video of that girl from the other day, right? Because I'm thinking maybe somebody must be following her. Just keep watching the screen right here, man. I saw something that just... That's just the housekeeper down there. Right there. Right there.
I don't know what that was.
This is crazy. And y'all think that's crazy? Watch, keep watching like right by that door right there, by that table. Keep watching right over by there. My hand is shaking. Right there.
What is that?
What the heck? Bro, that's a rock from that table right there. Those are stones and those in bowls right there by that table. And that one of them stones just fell on the floor.
And there's no way that should happen because there's no wind in there.
Wind ain't even gonna do that though. This is...
Just minutes after Arya is seen sprinting down the hallway, a strange, unexplained shadow appears on camera, and it moves rapidly in the same direction she was running. Then, shortly after that, a decorative stone from a nearby bowl inexplicably launches off the table and skips across the hallway floor on its own. Tony says he genuinely has no explanation for any of it. He's never encountered anything like this during his time working at the hotel, though he does admit he's heard strange, unaccountable sounds there on more than one occasion.
Keep in mind, there's no construction going on.
So what actually happened that night? Was there a real person with dangerous intentions stalking Arya through those halls? Could this have been something paranormal? Or is the whole thing an incredibly well-constructed hoax? As always, you paranormal entities and the ghosts that accompany them can be remarkably persuasive, yet capturing one on video isn't something everyone manages to do. Sometimes all a person gets is a single still image, but even those cases can send a chill straight down your spine, as you're about to find out. Some of the most compelling paranormal evidence ever recorded was captured completely by accident, and that's exactly what a woman named Kat says happened to her. One evening, she and her daughter were unwinding at home when a rat suddenly darted across the floor. The two of them chased it into the laundry room, though neither one was brave enough to actually grab it. Kat's daughter pulled out her phone and started filming as they laughed their way through a failed attempt at catching the little intruder. It seemed like nothing more than a funny clip to send to friends, but without realizing it, they were about to record something far more unsettling than any rat.
Oh my god. Oh wait, okay, wait, let me try to open the door. Hold on. Oh my god, it's right there in the basket. Oh my god. Mom, you gotta get it. Mom,
I'm gonna try.
As Kat's daughter swings the camera toward the laundry room, something deeply disturbing comes into frame, what appears to be a human head, briefly peering out at them. Neither of them seem to notice anything unusual in the moment, their attention fixed entirely on the rat. It was only when they reviewed the footage later that the outline of a person's head became impossible to ignore. Kat tried to write it off as a lighting illusion, but her daughter was convinced she had accidentally filmed a ghost. For several days, nothing further occurred until Kat's son was racing a remote control car around the house, and its onboard camera picked up something nobody could have anticipated.
He's playing with his camera, which is in this toy car. And this is where his room is, and this is a toy he used to capture the ghost.
The toy car zips through room after room, and everything looks completely ordinary right up until it rolls into the laundry room. That's where the camera picks up what sounds unmistakably like a voice whispering in the dark. And it didn't stop there. The car then collides with the front door, setting off an automatic dog flap as the door swings open and shut on its own. The camera captures a toy tower outside being hurled into the air before landing a few feet away. When Kat watched what her son's little car had recorded, she was left completely shaken. She now thinks her daughter may have been right from the very beginning, that something not of this world is sharing their home. 2 workers filmed this deeply unsettling footage while pulling a late shift inside a building. According to the video's description, the place had long been rumored to be haunted, following the deaths of 3 construction workers who were crushed when a support beam collapsed on them. A man by the name of Curtis was walking a new coworker through some operational procedures when an odd sound stopped them both in their tracks. They went to check it out, and what the camera caught next was nothing short of terrifying. Look closely at what unfolds.
One by one nè lo từ rưỡi
Cắn rồi.
Nuke one
Shortly after, a dark, shadowy figure could be seen standing completely motionless in the corner of the computer room on the left side. What made it even more chilling was that just moments later, when the camera swung back around and the workers stepped into the room, it was completely empty despite a dark shape having been clearly visible there only seconds before. The description confirms that the two of them were the only ones working overtime that evening, with nobody else in the building. Their manager had offered them the following day off as compensation for staying late. It was a deeply unsettling realization because if no other living person was there, then whatever was standing in that corner was something else entirely. Some viewers thought the figure looked like a classic shadow entity, while others, given the building's grim history, believed it could be the ghost of one of those construction workers who lost their lives there. For those two employees, our next clip comes from a man by the name of Adam, a writer and director who typically covers a wide range of subjects on his channel. Recently though, he posted something that stood out from the rest. Adam claims he recorded what he believes to be a shadow ghost all the way back in 1991, and over the decades that footage has apparently been picked up and featured on multiple paranormal TV programs. He described how throughout the summer of that year, something strange had been going on inside the home for an extended period. There were moments where an unknown presence seemed to replicate the voices of people in the family, creating the impression that someone was calling out from another room when, in reality, no one was there. Determined to get to the bottom of it, Adam and a group of friends set out to document whatever was happening.
What happened is, back in 1991, it was summer, me and my friends were a bit bored and we thought we'll try and catch something on my dad's video camera on a tripod because we knew there was something wrong with the house. There was a lot of shit happening. It were mimicking family members' voices when they weren't there. They were running up and down the stairs when nobody were there. They were pounding on the walls. Furniture were being moved around. My name were being called. My mates actually witnessed this as well. And we thought, let's set up a video camera and see if we can catch something on camera. So we decided to put it in different rooms, at different angles, on a tripod, recording on long play, because the tapes back then were only 30 minutes long, and we had the camera hooked up to the mains because the battery didn't last that long. We pressed record and left the house on 1 hour intervals so we couldn't be blamed for any noise or anything that happened in the background. We did this about 8 times. After we'd done this in various rooms in different directions of where most of the activity had happened in the house, we started spilling through some of the tapes. We got a little bit bored because we weren't finding anything. We were fast forwarding a bit and we just went out and played and we just kind of forgot about it for a bit. 2 weeks later, I was in on my own and I was a bit bored and I thought, oh, I'll go through some of them tapes. So I'm spilling through the tapes, fast forwarding them because it's obviously nothing's happening, getting a bit bored. And then something caught my eye, and it's the shot from opposite my bedroom door where I'm watching this footage, and there's a wicker chair that we had in the bathroom. And something manifested from the chair, and you've probably seen the video. Remember, I'm in on my own, and I'm watching this, and that chair is behind me in the opposite room across the hallway. So I backed up, shitting myself, shut my bedroom door I didn't even turn around. And I didn't leave that room until my parents came back. When they came back, I showed my mum and my dad the footage, and my mum says, oh yeah, I've seen that before. I said, what, you've seen this before? She says, yeah. She says, if you leave them alone, they'll leave you alone. Don't give them any energy. And I'm like, I couldn't believe it. And I didn't realise what I'd caught on camera until, obviously, I put it on YouTube years later.
Once the footage made its way online, viewers flooded the comments with questions about what had unfolded in that house and where the investigation ultimately led. To clear things up, Adam followed up with a separate video going into much greater depth about the whole experience. Here's what he shared.
What led up to me filming at my mum and dad's house and leading up to catching the footage that I got. Why did I start filming? Now, we moved into that house in 1984, and within a couple of months, weird stuff was happening. We were coming down in the morning, the three-piece suite had been rearranged, taps were turning on and off on their own, they was running up and down stairs when nobody was there. My mum would be shouting my name like she were angry when she wasn't even in the house, the same with my dad. They were pounding in the walls. They had these big mirror wardrobe doors that were, when you slid them open and closed, it sounded like you could really hear them opening and closing. When watching TV on a night as a family, there'd be nobody upstairs, they'd be opening and closing. My mum and dad just didn't give it any attention. Well, like, I thought there was somebody breaking in upstairs, and they were acting a bit weird. And they were shitting themselves, basically, but they didn't want me to be scared, so they just played it off like it was nothing. And it was just other stuff, being pulled out of bed, the covers being pulled off me, and really cold chills, bad smells. Yeah, it wasn't good. So anyway, so we moved in 1984. Within a couple of months, all this stuff started happening. It got worse in the year of 1990, and this is the reason why I think this happened. In the summer holidays of 1990, we were 2 weeks in. I had a best friend, we were 13 years old, and he suddenly passed away. I was playing out with him with my other mate the day before, and he had like hemophilia and asthma. So, you know, he were always in and out of hospital, and he wasn't feeling too well, so he went in early. The next day, his mum rung my mum and said, he's died. And like, me and my mates were like shocked because we were with him the day before. Anyway, he was buried in the cemetery down the road from where my mum and dad live. It's Undercliff Cemetery, it's called. And within a couple of months, stuff in the house got a lot worse. Now, I don't know if it's just a coincidence, but it led up to me filming around the house to try and catch something because I'm getting sick of it. I thought we were going insane. I would get teased at school, people go, oh, Adam's got a ghost in his house and that. But when some of my mates came to the house that were teasing me, ran out screaming and crying and never came in again because of the stuff that had happened. One of my mates was stood at the bottom of the stairs and somebody ran down the stairs and he just got a gust of wind and a bad smell, and he says he absolutely shit himself. He was crying, and I think he pissed himself, actually. I won't say who that was, but I think he did pee himself as well. So he didn't say anything after that. Anyway.
According to Adam, the paranormal activity eventually escalated, particularly in the wake of his friend's death. Cases involving mimics tend to rank among the most disturbing, given how they weaponize familiar voices, and shadow figures continue to appear in paranormal reports all over the world. So what's your take on what Adam recorded that day? A genuine spirit caught on film, or is there a rational explanation hiding in plain sight? Drop your thoughts below. The following video was captured late at night when a man unlocks a heavy wooden door and steps into a long, narrow institutional hallway. The corridor is lined with closed doors, exposed pipes, and aging greenish-yellow lights that barely reach into the darker sections ahead. His footsteps echo across the hard floor as he slowly makes his way deeper inside, and for a few seconds, nothing seems out of place until he sees something. Watch. For just a moment, you can make out what looks like a head and shoulders, something distinctly humanoid peering into the hallway. Then it disappears behind the wall almost instantly. The man swings the camera toward the corner, then back again as if he's trying to decide whether he actually saw someone. Some viewers believe the simplest explanation is that another person was inside the building, deliberately hiding around the corner and waiting for him to approach. In an abandoned or restricted building, that possibility may actually be more concerning than anything paranormal. But paranormal viewers focus on the sequence of events. The unexplained metallic scraping, followed almost immediately by a figure appearing exactly where the sound seemed to lead his attention. In paranormal folklore, brief sightings like this are sometimes described as shadow figures or partial apparitions, particularly when a figure appears only for a moment before seemingly withdrawing from view. The strange part is that the figure doesn't appear to walk away. It simply disappears behind the corner, and when he points the camera back toward that spot, there's nothing there. Whether it was someone deliberately hiding in the building, a trick of light and perspective, or something that shouldn't have been there at all, the man never gets close enough to find out. Because after seeing whatever was standing at the end of that hallway, he had a much bigger question to answer. Was he really alone in that building? In this next clip, a man is loading up his truck at dusk when he notices something moving through the fog in the adjacent cemetery, and once he points it out, it's hard to look away from. He insists he's already done his property check, that nobody should be out there, and yet, according to him, whatever it is just keeps pacing back and forth through the mist. Watch.
So I'm loading up the truck, and I swear I keep seeing a figure walk through the fog from there, and it just keeps pacing back and forth over there. What the hell? It's just pacing back and forth. I already did my property check. There's nobody on the property. What the fuck? They're just pacing back and forth. But you could see them through the fog. And at one point it looked like there was multiple.
If you look closely through the fog, you'll see what appears to be a figure repeatedly pacing across the same section of the cemetery. It moves one direction, disappears slightly into the mist, then seems to come back again, almost as though it's retracing the same path. That repetitive movement is what makes the footage particularly unsettling. A perfectly ordinary explanation is still possible. Fog can distort depth and make distant people appear much closer or more mysterious than they actually are, while a person walking along a path could easily look like they're appearing and disappearing as the mist shifts around them. But in ghost lore, figures seen repeatedly walking the same route are sometimes described as residual apparitions. The idea that a person or event can somehow leave behind a visual imprint that repeats itself without consciously interacting with anyone. Under that interpretation, the figure wouldn't necessarily be aware of the man filming it at all. The unsettling question is whether he's actually watching someone walking through the cemetery, or whether he's watching something that doesn't realize the living can see it. This next video was recorded inside a home at nighttime by a man who claims he'd already been unsettled before he ever picked up the camera. He says he heard someone laughing inside his bedroom, and that alone was enough to send him searching through every room with his phone raised. When he pushes open the creaking bedroom door and steps inside, the house is quiet, but not in a way that feels safe. It feels like something is waiting. Then, while he's mid-investigation, a loud slam erupts from another part of the house, sending him rushing back into the living room, where his camera lands on a porcelain doll seated in a black rocking chair. Reddish-brown curls, a white floral dress, eyes wide open and staring back at the lens. He starts asking it questions. Watch.
Guys, I heard somebody laughing. I want to say in my room. Huh? Somebody was laughing in my room. Huh. What the f? Somebody was just in my room. Oh shit! Holy f! Are you kidding me? Who? Did I just say something? Hey. Huh? Did that just say something? Are you anywhere near this chair? If you are, make a sound. Can you make a sound? Oh shit! Holy fuck! Holy fuck! Oh! Holy shit! Holy! I'm out! I'm out! Oh shit!
Viewers quickly focused on the chair, which he refers to as the 6666 chair, giving the otherwise ordinary piece of furniture a much darker reputation. Combined with the porcelain doll sitting on it, some viewers interpreted the scene through the lens of demonic or spirit attachment, particularly because dolls and rocking chairs are already common objects in supernatural folklore. But there's another detail that makes the second recording more interesting. The next clip appears to come from a separate incident inside the kitchen. This time, the man isn't simply investigating. He's holding a Bible and actively confronting whatever he believes is inside the house, commanding it to leave while reciting a prayer. Watch.
Yes, Father. Okay. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, I command every demon to leave my home immediately at this point right now. Every demon is to leave my house right now immediately. You are not welcome in this home. You are not welcome in my house. You are to leave my house immediately. Oh shit! Holy Father, it just fell. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, I command you to leave this house now. Now, you are not welcome in my house. Leave. Oh, holy. Ow, 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 ow. In the name of the Father, Father, something is here. It won't. Father. Oof. I'm out.
As he's performing the prayer, the cross hanging on the wall suddenly turns upside down. Then, the chair falls. For paranormal believers, the timing is significant. A religious object apparently changing position during a prayer is sometimes interpreted as oppositional activity. The idea that a negative presence becomes more active when confronted with something it is believed to oppose. So in one video, the man hears unexplained laughter, investigates, and ends up confronting a doll sitting in the infamous 666 chair. In the other, he brings out a Bible and begins a direct cleansing, only for objects in the room to seemingly react. Whether it was coincidence, a series of ordinary physical causes, or something the homeowner genuinely believed was responding to him, the footage leaves viewers with the same unsettling question. If something really was attached to that house, did the prayer drive it out, or did it simply make whatever was happening more visible? This next video was recorded by a man who goes by Amoroso Max, and across two separate clips filmed in the same bedroom. What he captures follows the same chilling pattern. Knocking that shouldn't be there, and something on the other side of a closed door that shouldn't be there either. In the first clip, he's alone in his room late at night, lying in bed, camera already pointed at his bedroom door as if he'd been waiting, or dreading, this moment. Rhythmic knocks begin hitting the door, 3 at a time, deliberate and steady, and you can hear him speaking in Spanish, invoking the blood of Christ, whispering prayers, his voice cracking between disbelief and raw fear. Watch.
Amigos, estoy completamente solo, no mamen. No lo puedo creer, no mamen. La sangre de Cristo tiene poder. Dios bendito. Dios bendito. Dios bendito.
Lárgate. Lárgate. Vete de aquí. Tu madre, güey. No mames, güey.
The door swings slowly and silently inward, and as the gap widens, a dark humanoid face peers around the edge, low to the ground, near the height of the doorknob, its eyes and features visible in the dim light. He screams for it to leave, then bolts out of bed, slams the door shut with everything he has, and fumbles with the lock, hyperventilating against the closed door in the dark. Some viewers immediately pointed to the positioning of the figure, low, peeking rather than standing, as behavior associated in paranormal communities with what's often called a crawler, a modern online label for humanoid entities said to move unnaturally close to the ground. Others think what he captured was something more directly tied to a demonic presence, given how quickly it vanished the moment the door was forced shut. Skeptics argue the figure could be a person crouching in a darkened hallway, but his reaction is hard to dismiss. That's not a man performing for a camera. That's fear. Then it happened again. A different night, 3 in the morning this time, and now the knocking isn't coming from the bedroom door. It's coming from inside his wardrobe. He points the camera at the large wooden cabinet against the wall, telling his audience it's 3 a.m. and something is knocking from inside. He begins reciting the Our Father in Spanish, then a psalm, voice trembling, the knocking growing faster and more insistent as he prays. Listen closely.
Son las 3 de la mañana, amigos, y se están escuchando golpes en ese ropero. Padre nuestro que estás en el cielo, santificado sea tu nombre, venga a nosotros tu reino, hágase tu voluntad así en la tierra como en el cielo. Danos hoy nuestro pan de cada día, perdona nuestras ofensas, así como nosotros perdonamos a quien nos ofende. No nos dejes caer en tentación, líbranos del mal. Amén. Evita el abrigo de la tierra sin murmurar abajo la sombra del omnipotente. Hay algo adentro, amigos. Anomalies, cabrón.
The wardrobe door swings open on its own, and he lurches backward onto the bed in a panic before eventually gathering himself enough to approach, push the door open further, and inspect inside. Nothing there, just piles of clothes, before slamming it shut. What stands out across both clips is the escalation. First the bedroom door, then the wardrobe, as if whatever is present is moving closer or changing tactics. Whether this is the same entity testing boundaries or something altogether different, the pattern of knocking followed by forced entry is consistent enough that it's hard to write off as coincidence. So, what do you think is happening in that room? This next video was recorded by a man who claims that for the better part of an afternoon, every time he stepped out of his garage workshop, something inside it would immediately start making noise, and the moment he walked back in, it would stop. He'd been dealing with this cycle 4 or 5 times throughout the day, and by the time he decided to document it, he was visibly shaken, speaking in a hurried, breathless voice as he set his phone down inside the empty workshop and walked out to cross the yard back toward the main house. What made this particular attempt different is that he set up a split screen using his Ring security camera, so viewers could see him leave the building and confirm that the space was completely unoccupied. Watch.
I don't know why my sweat is in the shape of a pyramid, and this is the most paranormal thing I think I've caught so far. This is all one take. My Ring camera is facing this way. You're gonna see it's all one take. This has happened 4 or 5 times today. I'm hearing shit walking upstairs. I've been out here for like an hour. It's been insane. I'm gonna set you down right here. I'm gonna run inside. You'll see me on the Ring camera, and I'll come back out, and we'll go up top and look at the flashlight. All right, let's see if you hear something. Let's go up. I know, I've gone up a few times already. Dude, there's nobody up here. I had to come up like the 3rd time. I had to. Dude, there's not a soul up here. Nothing. Nobody. All right, I'm getting the fuck down. Dude, did you hear anything? I gotta check and look.
At first, it sounds like footsteps moving across the floor as though someone is walking around, but the noise changes. What began as footsteps starts sounding more like someone shifting things around and digging through the objects stored inside. And according to him, that's exactly the kind of noise he'd been hearing every time he left. The strange part is that the sound doesn't seem to follow him. He is visibly away from the workshop when it begins, and there's no obvious person entering the building on the security footage. He rushes back inside and immediately heads toward the dark attic above the storage area, apparently convinced that whatever is making the noise could be hiding up there. But there was no one there. Skeptics will point to old structures settling and temperature shifts causing wooden frames to flex and pop, but that metallic click is harder to dismiss. A latch doesn't turn itself from thermal expansion. Some viewers think something in that space has been responding specifically to his movements, waiting for him to leave before making itself heard, which is a pattern that implies awareness rather than random environmental noise. He clearly wasn't done looking for answers because in the next clip, he returns to the same workshop, this time with a PSB-7T spirit box, a handheld device that rapidly scans radio frequencies, which some believe allows spirits to manipulate the static to form words. Watch.
You are about to see something that's gonna blow your mind. I finally got one of these spirit box kind of thing. I can almost guarantee you I know what it's gonna say. Bro, every single time. Listen to this. Hold on. Get ready. Get the link. Who's here? Are you here right now? How many of there are you? How many? More than one? So you're telling me there are 7 spirits here?
When he asks who's there, a distorted multi-syllable voice comes through the static that sounds like all of us. Then, when he asks if something is present, the volume on the device drops on its own. He asks how many are there, and a clear 2-syllable response comes back sounding like 11, And then, almost immediately after he asks a follow-up question, the spirit box shuts itself off entirely. Spirit box sessions are genuinely controversial. The devices scan so many frequencies so quickly that the human brain is wired to find patterns in the fragments, a phenomenon called auditory pareidolia. But the device powering down mid-session is the part that's harder to hand wave, because that's not a voice fragment pulled from static. That's a physical event. Whether it's 11 presences, 1, or none at all, something in that workshop doesn't seem to want him there alone. What do you think is actually in that shed? The following video was recorded by a woman who owns property in the Appalachian Mountains. 200 acres of dense forest, a gravel driveway, a pond, and, as she would eventually discover, an unmarked cemetery sitting quietly on the land. She'd been checking her security cameras periodically, the way most people do, just to see what passes through. She wasn't looking for anything unusual, but what she found when she reviewed the footage changed the way she thinks about the property entirely. Watch.
When we found out that there was a cemetery on the property, every time I get there, I walk up by myself and I say a prayer. After that, once I came back home and checked the camera, this is what I saw. I wasn't really sure what it was. I'm like, it looks like an old man with like carrying a staff with like a beard or something. And I started digging, and what the theory that I came up with was that it was Saint Michael leading these souls to heaven. I sent it to my mom and she said, there's more people around him. And then she said, if you look at the very last like second, it like turns as if it's gonna go up that trail. And that's where the cemetery is up that trail. Because originally we thought, okay, this land is haunted for sure. Like, there's some bad stuff on this property. I'm starting to lean away from the property being haunted from something evil to being something that's positive.
What the camera captured was a narrow vertical column of reddish-orange light near the tree line, visible in daylight, standing apart from the surrounding shadows in a way she says she's never seen before or since. She acknowledges it could be a sun glare, but insists the shape was different this time. More structured, more deliberate. After slowing it down and zooming in, she began to see something that resembled a tall figure, possibly with a beard, possibly carrying a staff. She sent it to her mother, who pointed out what she thought were additional shapes surrounding it. Her theory, the one she kept coming back to, was Saint Michael, the archangel traditionally depicted as a guardian of souls, leading the dead. The trail right there in the footage leads directly up to a cemetery on the property, and she says if you watch the very last moment of the clip, the anomaly appears to turn as if moving toward that trail. Whether you think it's a light artifact or something else entirely, the location of it is difficult to dismiss. So what do you think that was? That question only deepened the more she began connecting the other strange events happening on the same property. In the months before she even knew there was a cemetery on her land, a fire broke out near one of the cabins and spread up the hill in a path that no one could fully explain. Take a look.
Really, get out of there. Really, get out of there.
A tree stump in that area kept reigniting on its own, still smoldering more than 12 hours after firefighters had completely extinguished everything else. And then the cabin closest to that spot flooded without any clear cause. She has footage of the water valve taken shortly before the flood, showing it clearly in the closed position, and yet the cabin still filled with water. When her cousin later discovered, almost by accident through a map app on her phone, that there was an unmarked cemetery sitting in that exact location, the precise spot where the fire started, the precise spot in front of the cabin that flooded, the whole sequence stopped feeling like a coincidence. The Appalachian Mountains carry one of the oldest and deepest traditions of land-based folklore in North America, a blend of Scotch, Irish, and Cherokee belief, where the idea that the dead can make themselves known to the living is not treated as superstition, but as fact. Some viewers familiar with that tradition think whatever is buried there was trying to get her attention, using the fire and the flood as signals rather than threats. Others think it's an extraordinary run of coincidence, but the cemetery's real, the water valve footage is real, and the stump was still burning long after it had any reason to be. Then she checked the security camera that covers the long gravel driveway in the yard, and what she found in the still images gave her the clearest picture yet of something that shouldn't be there. Watch closely.
What's that? Anybody with a Ring camera understands that if your camera picks up motion, it starts recording. Otherwise, it just takes a picture every minute. And this was captured in one of the pictures. It didn't record. To get an idea, this is the whole view from that camera. This is the road. This is the driveway. That you can either go up past there or you can come this way. Okay, so there's the driveway road. There's a gate right there. All along here on the other sides of the pond are these huge ditches that if you were to stand in them, they'd be over your head. Okay, so we get a layout. This tree, road, driveway. This is a deer in the same spot. And if you look over there, you can see the camera caught it, and the camera was recording that deer running from over there to over here. Okay, it was going this way. Camera caught it. You can see in the bottom corner, it says motion detected, that deer. Here is where it caught a car. You can see the car at the end of the driveway. See a vehicle. It caught it. It started recording, caught it. And now here is where you see it just pops up, and then it goes away. I'm scrolling with my finger. Here is where it caught deer at night in the same spot. The one on the left is in the same spot. At night, it caught it. Now I know what you're saying. Ring cameras capture weird stuff all the time. That's fine. I get it. Like the time I thought I saw a ghost in the yard. Right here. I thought that looked like a person. Not to mention the fact, if this was an actual person on a horse riding up my driveway, even if the camera didn't detect it, it would have still caught an image every so often of it walking up the driveway. There's no way it could have gotten over the gate, and there's no way that it could have gone in the creek to get onto the property. If you understood how deep this creek is, there's no way that horse could have gone down into the creek and then up and out again onto the property. It just doesn't make sense. Side note, we did discover that there is a cemetery located on our property. So many things have happened there that are just unexplainable, and yeah, I'll get into it some other time.
A single still image from the camera shows a pale, amorphous shape near the tree line. Two parts to it, a lower bulky form and a taller, narrower shape above, like something seated on an animal. The camera didn't detect motion and didn't record a clip. It just took its periodic still photograph and caught that shape standing there. And then, the next frame it was gone. Some viewers immediately called it a ghost horse, a term that shows up repeatedly in Appalachian folklore, where the spirits of animals are said to remain tied to land they once worked. Others weren't sure what to call it at all. By the time she came back to review her footage again weeks later, she'd found something new. And this time, the camera itself seemed to be part of the story. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying watching this video. Watch.
So the footage of my neighbor going to the property, I watched it back after he left, and it sounded like women were yelling at him as he was pulling out of the driveway. So I messaged him and I said, hey, was there anyone yelling at you when you left? And he said, no. I slowed it down. After listening back, it sounds like several people yelling at him.
When she went back to pull the original clip, the footage had changed. The recording that previously showed minute-by-minute markers now displayed a single continuous bar that skipped from 9:30 in the morning directly to 4:30 in the afternoon, the ghost clip sitting right in that missing window, around noon. The data was just gone. And then she found the audio. A recording from the camera picked up two men talking outside. One of them saying goodbye to someone he called Papa before leaving the property. Normal enough, but when she slowed it down, the voice dropped into something low and guttural that didn't sound like a slowed human voice anymore. She's since found death certificates and photographs for what she believes are 5 to 7 people buried on that land. Someone's ancestors, left in an unmarked cemetery that the property's current owners had no idea was there until a fire pointed directly at it. Whatever is on those 200 acres, it doesn't seem to be staying quiet. The following videos were all recorded inside the same home, by the same man, across what appears to be an ongoing series of disturbances. The kind that don't announce themselves all at once, but instead show up night after night, wearing you down slowly. He's been documenting everything, filming on his phone, speaking in Spanish to whoever might be watching later, making sure there's a record. On this particular night, he was eating tacos when the knocking started again, not a casual tap. A persistent, rhythmic knock at the front door. He grabbed his phone mid-meal and started recording, saying quietly to the camera, "They're knocking, and I'm eating my tacos," followed by, "So you can see I'm not telling you lies. Watch." He opens the door to find no one there. The street empty, 2 red cars parked in the distance, nobody on the stoop. But when he turns back inside, something is lying on the tiled floor just inside the threshold. A long, pale, fibrous root-like object, dry and covered in white hair-like tendrils, almost skeletal in appearance. The door had been locked from the inside. That alone is worth sitting with. In many Latin American and Caribbean folk traditions, objects like that, dried roots, herbs, specific plant matter, left at someone's threshold aren't random. They're deliberate. Some call it brujeria, a broad Spanish language term for witchcraft or folk magic, used across Mexico and Central America to describe the practice of placing objects with intention, to curse a home, to invite something in, or to mark a person. Whether you believe in that or not, the fact that something passed through a locked door is harder to explain away. That same night, it happened again. The sounds this time were different. Not soft knocking, but rapid, sharp snapping, almost mechanical, about 2 per second, filling the room before stopping the moment he touched the locks. Watch. When he opens the door, there's another object on the doormat. A long, dry stick or vine, brittle and light brown, lying across the mat like it had been placed there carefully. 2 different sounds, 2 different objects, the same locked door, the same night. It didn't stop there. Later, he woke up to find the shower running on its own, for the 2nd time. He said so himself on camera. "This is the 2nd time it makes me get up to turn off the shower." He walked to the bathroom in the dark, turned off the water, and stepped back into the hallway. Watch.
Esta es la segunda vez que hace que me levante a cerrar la regadera.
He closes the bathroom door, the house goes quiet and then, from somewhere down that dark hallway, a clear melodic tune begins to play. Simple, repetitive, the kind of sound you'd hear from a baby's mobile or a music box. No source visible, no one else in the hallway. Some viewers pointed out the combination of threshold objects and unseen sounds is consistent with what's sometimes described in folk magic traditions as an attempt to destabilize a household, to unsettle the people inside so something else can settle in. Others think the activity across all 3 clips points to something already present, using the objects as markers and the sounds as signals. But you be the judge. The following video was recorded inside a home that the family moved into not long ago. A deceased estate, meaning the previous owner passed away there, and the house itself still carries whatever that person left behind. Since moving in, their 3-year-old daughter has developed an imaginary friend, which on its own isn't unusual, except for the specific details this little girl has been sharing about who that friend is. Watch. She's seen here playing in the hallway, pushing herself backward in a pink toy stroller across the wooden floors, completely at ease, the way a child acts around someone familiar, someone she's comfortable with. It's ordinary childhood play on the surface. But the mother is the one who framed it, and according to her, what that little girl is doing isn't just playing alone. In clip 2, the mother films herself from the lower level of the house and walks through everything she's been told. Watch.
So I don't know what to do with this information. And she's 3. Like, this is the first time she's ever had an imaginary friend, and you'd think it would be like a fairy unicorn or something, but it's not. It's the most standard middle-aged man, and he sounds like a real dude, and I now think that I have to go back through births, deaths, and marriages and figure out what the name of the guy was that lived here, because if his name is Joe...
The imaginary friend has a name, Joe. He's described not as a fairy or a monster, as most childhood imaginary figures tend to be, but as a perfectly ordinary middle-aged man who likes working on his car, wears a red shirt and black gardening gloves, lives on the property, and has 2 children. And she already knows the family that sold her the house had 2 children. He's also described as having spent a lot of time in hospital, which, if the previous owner died, fits. The woman is genuinely shaken, not performing fear. Her nervous laughter and wide eyes give that away. What makes this harder to dismiss is the specificity. Kids invent imaginary friends all the time, but they tend toward the fantastical. A 3-year-old conjuring a middle-aged man who gardens, drives a car, and matches the known biographical details of the deceased owner is a different category altogether. Some believe young children are more perceptually open than adults, less filtered, less conditioned to dismiss what they sense, and that what looks like imaginative play may actually be something more literal. Others would argue the child absorbed fragments of overheard adult conversations and constructed a figure from them. The mother says she's planning to research the previous owner's name through public records, and if it comes back as Joe, she's made her decision. That question is still unanswered. and it's the one that keeps the story from closing. The following video was recorded by a home security camera and later shared to YouTube by a man named Charlie on his channel, where he claimed the footage was captured outside his property late one night. The camera overlooked a quiet yard, with a parked pickup truck in the foreground and a road running along a tree line in the distance, all of it lit by the yellow-orange glow of a nearby street lamp. At first, nothing seemed unusual. The footage looked like any ordinary overnight security recording, but while reviewing the video, Charlie noticed something near the stop sign on the right side of the road and called his partner over to watch it with him. Watch closely.
And watch the stop sign on the left or on the right-hand side. It materializes. There's the head and shoulders
the person
walking down the road, turns and walks up the road and disappears behind the tree.
That's just freaking nuts.
A translucent human-shaped figure is seen on the road, head and shoulders clearly visible, and walks calmly from right to left before turning up a path and vanishing completely behind a tree, never emerging on the other side. What makes this harder to dismiss is that the figure doesn't run, doesn't flicker out mid-stride. It just walks, deliberately, and then it's simply gone. Some viewers think it's a classic residual haunting, a kind of energy imprint replaying a path someone once walked so often it burned itself into the location. Others aren't sure that explanation covers something you can watch materialize out of nothing. What do you think was walking that road? Now, in this next video, a man who works at a cemetery has been documenting a string of increasingly strange incidents coming from the garage on the property, a locked, cluttered workshop filled with lawn equipment, tools, and what he's starting to believe is something that doesn't clock out. Over the past few days, he's reported a white door slamming shut on its own, 3 loud knocks against it while it was still open, and lights flickering on and off through the windows before he even unlocks the place. He's calm about it, almost too calm, which is either the sign of someone who's gotten used to something, or someone who's made peace with something they can't explain. On this particular morning, while he's walking through the garage with a camera and talking through what he'd experienced before hitting record, it happens again. Watch.
Alright, so I am up here at the cemetery, and I wish I would have caught it, but I was just getting my stuff together for the day. And I had this door open along with this bay door, and this door just slammed shut so loud, and I swear prior to it slamming I heard 3 knocks on it while it was open. I have no explanation. I have no explanation. I don't know what the hell that was. It was 3 super loud knocks, and then the door slammed shut so loud, so fast too. It was like, oh, I wish I would have caught it. Good morning. Sorry, I forgot to say good morning. Did you drop your tool? I'll get it for you. I'll put it on the workbench.
A sudden, jarring metallic clatter erupts from somewhere inside the garage, completely off camera, and the camera jolts as he spins around searching for the source. What he finds is a socket wrench extension lying on the concrete floor. No one else is in the building, and he can't account for how it got there. But here's the thing about the way he responds. He doesn't run. He picks it up, places it on the workbench, and quietly says, "Is that better?" addressing whatever threw it as if it were a coworker who knocked something off a shelf by accident. Some viewers find that the strangest part. Skeptics would argue the tool could have fallen from a surface nearby, but the force of that clatter and the timing of it are harder to explain away. That simply, the next morning he pulls in and notices the lights in the locked workshop are flashing on and off through the window, and when they finally stay on, he thinks he sees a dark shadow dart past the glass. He unlocks the door and goes in to investigate. Listen closely.
Alright, so I just arrived to the cemetery and through that window saw the lights flashing 3 times, on, off, on, off, on, off. They're now off. I waited like a minute. They didn't turn back on, but the last time they flashed on, I could have swore I saw a dark shadow dart by that window. So we're gonna go right in, unlock the door. We're gonna say good morning right off the bat. Good morning. Good morning. I saw the lights on. Good morning. It looked like something darted by that window right there. Now I don't see anything. We're gonna turn the lights on. Good morning. Just here to work. I saw the lights. I saw the lights flickering. Do you need help? Did you lose something? Morning. Yesterday I saw it dart by that window as I walked in. And it blocked all that out. Oh, shit.
He's mid-sentence when another loud clatter cuts through the silence and a small black circular object appears on the concrete floor near one of the mowers, seemingly thrown from nowhere. His voice drops, his breathing shifts, and he starts whispering, clearly rattled despite having been through this before. He'd seen the shadow dart past that same window the day before, which suggests whatever's in that space isn't a one-time occurrence, but something that keeps showing up. Then, on yet another visit, arriving to find the lights on again in a building he'd left locked and dark, he unlocks the door, steps inside, and whispers that he can see footprints near one of the windows. Watch closely.
Alright, I'm up here at the cemetery, just pulled in, and saw the light flash on, flash off. Saw something go by this window, and the lights are on right now. The lights are literally on, still on right now. This is the first time I actually caught the lights while they're still on. Good morning. These lights were off Friday when I left, and now they are on. This is the first time I caught them. They were flashing when I pulled in. This is the first time I caught them actually staying on. Good morning. Oh yeah. Good morning. Okay. You don't have to throw my headphones. I mean, they're not expensive, but they're not cheap. Oh, shit. Actually caught the light staying on this time. You know, you better pitch in for this electric bill if you're going to keep these lights on.
Two separate metallic clatter sounds erupt one after the other from an unseen source, and when he finally locates the disturbance, he finds his own headphones thrown onto the floor next to one of the mowers. Some people also heard a cat's meow somewhere inside the garage, and while that's been floated as a natural explanation for some of the noises, it doesn't account for all of them, and it certainly doesn't explain the lights turning themselves on between visits. What's living in that workshop, and what exactly does it want with the man who mows the cemetery? The following clips come from the same house, the same rooms, the same security cameras, the same person living through a series of events that started quietly and then got significantly worse. It begins in the early hours of February 16th of 2020, just before 3 a.m., with the house empty, the lights off, and a small cat sitting on the floor near a closed interior door. The cat had come into the bedroom earlier that night and woken the homeowner up, meowing loudly, which he didn't think much of at the time. By the morning, though, the cat was refusing to come downstairs entirely. Watch. The door first drifts open on its own, slowly, a few inches, as if something is testing the weight of it, and then something is seen resting against the wall. No one's there. Skeptics would say air pressure, a draft, an unlatched latch. But the slow creep before the violent slam is what makes that explanation hard to land. Drafts don't usually pause. Then it got worse. On April 27th of 2020, more than 2 months later, the security camera in the same house captured something far more chaotic. The owner had been filming the night before, heard a lot of banging, and went upstairs rather than keep recording, a decision he openly regrets. Listen closely. Objects are thrown from a stacked pile under the stairs. A board game box lands hard in the middle of the floor. A scraping sound tears across the room like something heavy being dragged. And then, as the activity seems to settle, the glass pane door in the center of the frame slams shut on its own with enormous force. Orbs of light appear and vanish twice during the sequence, each one coinciding with a new sound or movement. For viewers familiar with poltergeist cases, that combination, objects thrown, furniture weight scraping, doors slamming, fits a pattern described repeatedly in documented activity reports, where the disturbances escalate in both frequency and aggression over weeks, not in a single night. It's not subtle. And if you've been following this case from the first clip, the same door, the same rooms, the same hours of the night, you'd start to wonder whether whatever this is had been building towards something. 2 months after the security camera footage, the same homeowner found himself downstairs at 5:30 a.m., woken by a loud bang, phone in hand, filming as he walked down a dark staircase. Watch.
Right, so it's like 5:30 in the morning. I just got woken up to a loud bang. I was thinking maybe it's just Corey, but no. Corey's here sleeping next to me. And if you want to have a look as well, this is what he's fucking come to. Falling asleep, watching Minecraft playthroughs. Because I can't fucking sleep, and I'm just like, I need to have all my electronics on my fucking Xbox and my PC in order to even like relax. It's ridiculous, but that's what's going on. Let's go see what's going on downstairs. Right, so the light's not working again. What the fuck? Orange on the fuck's sake. Freezer's leaking. Right, and the door's just opened itself. I don't even know if the camera fucking picked that up. Oh, for fuck's sake. I can't be bothered with this. Right, if there's anything in the room with me right now, if there's anything or anyone that wants to communicate, open the door. Go on, open the fucking door. What the oh my god. Right, so there's something in the room. Do you want me to do a fucking Ouija board? Is that it? What the for fuck's sake. Right, I'm just gonna that scared the shit out of me.
Every kitchen cabinet and drawer is standing wide open, and the freezer door is ajar with an orange on the floor. He shuts the drawers one by one, and as he turns, a white door with frosted glass panels slowly swings open behind him. He challenges it out loud, tells it to open the door if it's there, and after a pause, it obliges, thrown open with extreme force, and then slams shut in the same motion. He asks if it wants him to get a Ouija board, and the moment he finishes the sentence, a tall, freestanding stack of cases in the next room violently collapses. He runs. A continuous high-pitched sound, somewhere between a theremin and a tone, runs underneath all of it. That sound in particular unsettled a lot of viewers because it doesn't come from anything visible on screen. Some think it's consistent with infrasound-adjacent phenomena, low or high frequencies sometimes reported in locations with active disturbances, described in some paranormal traditions as a sign that something is present and aware. Others think it's audio added in post to sell the drama. What would you do if that was your house? Sometime after all of this, the homeowner turned his attention to something else in the property, a plasma ball he'd been using as a paranormal communication device. He unplugged it from the wall, established a system of 1 flash for yes and 2 for no, and filmed it responding to his questions. Take a look.
Right, so the plasma balls just started going off again after I filmed that last video, so I figured now's a good time to ask it some more questions. So I'm just going to unplug it here so you know it's not faked. And someone mentioned that I should ask it to do 1 flash for yes and 2 flashes for no. So yeah, whatever's in the room with me right now, if you want to communicate, would you be able to do 1 flash for yes and 2 flashes for no? Right. So you're in the room with me right now. And do you want to communicate? Right, so were you a human? So you weren't a human? Or you're not a human? Right, and are you a demon? No. I don't know what you mean when you flash like that. So when this started, like before this started, I had a dream that Pennywise was downstairs in this house. Was that you trying to communicate to me? Take that as a yes. And are you Pennywise? No, obviously. Right, so are you bad? Yes. That's creepy. And I will just show as well, yeah, so if I just... Right, so... I want to keep it all in one shot. Yeah, I was wrong. It is battery operated. Look, there is a little battery slot there, so I am just going to show. I didn't even know that was there, but I am just going to show. If I set the phone down like here, right, and then unscrew it. Yeah, I didn't even know that there was a battery thing on it. I think the screwdriver is too big. So yeah, I just want to keep it all in one shot so you can see that. That's it. Yes. Oh. Yeah, I'm not well at the moment, so if I sound rough, that's why. Right. So, as you can see, watch it, there's 3 batteries inside of it that I didn't even know about. But yeah, when I bought this, I didn't even look, didn't even check to see if there was a battery thing inside. So yeah, I guess Steve-O was right, but yeah, you can see. Oh. You can see there, there's no batteries. So,
after the questions, he carries the ball to the kitchen and opens a battery compartment in the base on camera in a single continuous take. No cuts, no edits. And the compartment is completely empty. 4 slots for AAA batteries, all of them vacant. So the device had been responding with no connection to a wall outlet and no batteries installed. That final reveal, done almost reluctantly after a viewer pointed out the battery compartment existed in the first place, is what made this clip spread widely. There's no clean explanation for a plasma ball flashing on command with no power source, so what do you think he's dealing with? The following video was captured on the night of March 24th, 2026 at exactly 9:35 p.m. by a Topo security camera mounted on a quiet rural property, far from busy roads, far from neighbors, far from anything that could easily explain what you're about to see. At first, it looks ordinary. The night is calm and nothing feels out of place, then the door moves. But that's not the part that unsettles people the most. Look closer at the window. For a brief moment, so quick you might miss it, a figure passes by, and here's where things start to feel wrong. Because whatever moved that door, whatever walked past that window, it doesn't behave like something bound by the same rules we are, and it raises a question that's hard to shake. What if there are things that move through our world freely, unseen most of the time, only revealing themselves in fragments like this? Not trapped, not tied to a place, just passing through. And if that's true, how often do they walk through spaces we think are empty? In this next clip, the footage comes from a security camera mounted inside what appears to be a workshop filled with tools, tables, and storage equipment. The kind of place that usually sits in complete stillness for hours. No movement, no activity, and no reason for anything to shift on its own. The timestamp reads 3:45 in the morning on March 10th, a time when everything, especially in a place like this, should be completely silent. But it isn't. Something is clearly disturbing the space, but nothing is visible. And then, a shadow moves. Some viewers believe a small animal could explain the initial movement, but if that were the case, you'd expect some kind of chain reaction. Other objects shifting, something knocking over, a visible trace of movement. But the room stays unnaturally contained. Others believe the location itself might play a role. The clip is said to be from Finkroken Brygge, a quiet coastal area in northern Norway. Isolated, surrounded by cold waters and long stretches of darkness during certain times of the year. Places like this have a long history of folklore tied to the unseen. In old Scandinavian stories, coastal buildings, boathouses especially, were believed to attract Vadir, nature-bound spirits said to inhabit land, water, and man-made spaces. They weren't always hostile, but they were territorial, known to move objects, create sounds, and make their presence known when disturbed or ignored. So when you watch that shadow move, is it something passing through, something tied to that location, or something that never really left? You decide.